We've been wanting answers on the attack of January 6th on the Capitol, and maybe they're coming a little bit closer. At the very least, there is a hearing going on. And what do you know? They're bringing in witnesses proving that you can do that. You can actually hear from the people who experienced January 6th. Isn't that a novel idea to give new perspective on what happened? My, maybe they should have thought about doing that for the impeachment trial, but I guess they were too busy, I don't know. But anyway, they've got this public inquest that's begun. We have 4 law enforcement officials, 3 of whom resigned their posts, some of whom have never before spoken publicly about the attack. They're going to be answering questions. 3 of those officials, former US Capitol Police Chief Stephen Sund, former Senate Sergeant at Arms and doorkeeper Michael Stenger, and former House Sergeant at Arms Paul Irving, resigned in the immediate wake of the attack. Also being questioned is Metropolitan Police Department Acting Chief Robert Conti. His agency provided backup for the Capitol Security Force that was overrun by the pro-Trump mob. And we're gonna have more on this, Ida, but just first of all, I do think it's interesting both that, as I sort of joked about, hey, look, witnesses are a good thing. They now seem to accept that. But also, it's a reminder that like everything that happened on the 6th was somebody's fault or different people's fault. These 3 officials resigned, seeming to imply that they were responsible, but nobody who was instigating the mob or anything like that has suffered any consequences. These 3 officials are apparently more responsible than the people who organized the event, Trump who sent them to the Capitol, and all of that.
Yeah, that's so very American. As I call it, the people below the line. I've been using these Hollywood terms that I think are applicable when we talk about our government, because the people who are at the elite who are at the top, who belong to the elite class, are absolved of all of their crimes and them being compliant in this horrible act. I mean, I think when they call it riots, it pisses me off because I think that it minimizes what it is. People lost their lives. This is not like the white boys who go crazy when Michigan loses. Like this is, people have actually lost their lives. And there were threats on the life of the vice president of the United States. Some of our senators, it was terror. And I'm not surprised by how it's being handled. I think that this is what you and I and those of us who believe in being progressive talk about constantly. Our government is out of control. They are, they are not the government. The government is the corporations in the United States of America who are running the country. And these people, these puppets who are in Washington, they get away with everything because they got friends in high places with a lot of money. So now you're gonna see the people who don't make a lot of money, the people who got caught up in this mass hysteria of white supremacy that were tricked into going down there and laying down the line, they're all gonna pay the price. While Ivanka, Eric, Donald Jr., Donald, and all of those people that were a part of that, that heist, are gonna continue to make money off of these people who are paying the price. That's how it's always been.
Yeah, and well, like in theory, these hearings are an opportunity to really make clear what happened and who was responsible. And that's important in the context of since January 6th up to and including last night's cable news shows, there are people still trying to gaslight people about what happened on the 6th. Tucker Carlson is still saying there was no evidence there was any white supremacists. White supremacists had nothing to do with it. It wasn't an insurgency. It wasn't anything. And I love hearing that from a guy that had they gone in and executed every Democrat, he'd be saying, well, look, it's a tragedy, but that's the situation. I guess Republicans are in charge of everything. Him now because they lost, implying that it was nothing. So all of that's been going on. But this moment where we could really make clear to America what happened is going to be at least partially wasted. Because in that room where the questions are taking place, you have people like Josh Hawley and Ted Cruz and Cindy Hyde-Smith and others who did the electoral equivalent, or I guess the elected official equivalent of that insurgency. They voted to invalidate votes. They're gonna be asking questions. Ted Cruz was photographed just like browsing on his phone. He was just bored, he didn't care about what was going on. Ron Johnson is saying that the 6 was about agitators on both sides because they're still trying to pretend that it was Antifa that was doing it. And so we have a ridiculous sham of a government. And unfortunately, that touches on all of this. Like impeachment became this ridiculous joke because we've got such idiots in office. This is gonna be a joke because there's people like Ted Cruz wanted to overturn the election. He has no interest whatsoever in the American people understanding what happened on the 6th. And he's gonna do whatever's necessary to make sure that it doesn't happen.
Yeah, you know what's funny is that it's the greatest hustle, right? We've experienced the greatest hustle in the last 5 years, 5 to 6 years. They have convinced the American people, a portion of the American people, that people who fight against fascism are bad. They've convinced people that Black people screaming for their humanity, that Black Lives Matter is a terrorist organization because it's terroristic to white people who don't want to give up their privilege to have to share with people who are just asking for basic humanity and rights. It's the greatest hustle. They've convinced poor people to pay for $30 hats and wear merchandise to support a president of the United States. People who don't have all their teeth in their mouth because they don't have good health care and a good dental plan, buying hats and merchandise that belong to billionaires. They've convinced people to aspire to believe that they too will be a billionaire and fight for capitalism in a way that is unheard of when they don't even have the proper education to start a business because the education system in this country is gone to shit. So when you think about the heist, this whole hustle that's happened in the last 5 years, which has been in the making for a long time. And you listen to people like Tucker Carlson and Sean Hannity and many others on all sides of the aisle. Follow the money, and then you'll see who's paying those people and why they're robots, spewing these talking points that support the status quo, that keep poor people down and keep people, in the places where they need to be so that they can be controlled. So I'm not at all surprised about anything that's happening in this because this has been going on for a long time and they've been preparing us for this.
Well, the keeping poor people down is gonna be a theme of the show. We're gonna be talking about the fight over the minimum wage a little bit later on. Look, there's other nonsense that they've been spewing. I'm sure that there's gonna be even more after today's show. So we're gonna stop on this subject for now. We'll get it all together for tomorrow.
You gotta come more of the trauma.
It's more of them saying like, you know what did Pelosi know and when did she know it? Did she bring in the people that were trying to hunt her down and kill her?
Right.
No, that's just shut up. God, our country sucks so hard.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.